Good morning and welcome to the daily weather operations brief. This morning, seeing some very dense fog overspread much of the area with visibilities currently dropping below a quarter mile, at least here on base, and our winds are remaining light alongside with some modest temperatures that are expected to warm nicely as we head into the afternoon, especially once this fog starts to erode away. And we're also anticipating, similarly to previous days here in the local area, another dry day, as most of that modeled precipitation in the form of scattered showers does look to remain north of our area, which, as mentioned earlier, has been the case for the previous days here on the shore. Now, looking at this morning's surface analysis here, we can see that a nearly stationary boundary is currently sitting across southern Virginia with that dense fog that is formed along the northern portions and ahead of that boundary, and that has since prompted the need for a dense fog advisory for our area. But as we move through the day today, we can anticipate that fog to gradually improve and erode away as temperatures begin to rise throughout the day. However, that fog may prove to be a bit stubborn and hang around lingering into the afternoon. But later today, that boundary that is sitting to our south will likely shift northwards as we see an upper level ridge begin to strengthen, and we'll see some southwesterly flow increase into the area. And as a result, those skies should begin to clear, and we'll see highs climbing into the 60s across the area, with areas to the west, especially west of the bay, expected to reach the upper 70s and potentially into the 80s for this afternoon. Now, overnight and into Friday, we'll see a passing upper level disturbance, a shortwave moving through to the north, and that is looking to push that boundary back down to the southwest tomorrow. And as a result, we'll see those highs struggling to climb out of the 50s for many of the local areas, leading to a much cooler day in comparison to what we are seeing this afternoon and what we will see this weekend to close out the working week. Looking at the current weather observations out on the field, we are seeing a vertical visibility of about 200 feet with less than a quarter statute mile of visibility. Winds are light and variable at the time, with a temperature of about 45 degrees and a relative humidity sitting at 100%, hence the dense fog. And if we look at this morning's satellite imagery, we can see most of the notable activity being far off to the west of the mountains in the Ohio Valley there, and that is associated with the location of that stationary boundary, and we do have some upper level clouds and fog overspreading our local area, and areas to the south, as mentioned earlier, looking to remain dry, which is further modeled by this NAM run here. This is a high-resolution model looping for 24 hours. As mentioned earlier, we have that precipitation off to the west and to the north expected to remain confined to those areas and leave us dry as we move through the day today. For the 24-hour forecast ahead, seeing that fog here with reduced visibilities this morning, we'll start to see clearing skies as we move into the afternoon and a chance of seeing that lingering fog. Temperatures climbing up to around 60 this afternoon, and lowered visibilities then working their way back into the forecast to close out the 24 hours ahead, and as mentioned earlier, remaining green for precipitation. Now, on the short-term side of things, looking to the next 2 days ahead, on Friday, expecting to see partly to mostly cloudy conditions at times and a high around 50. Cooler as we do see that that cooler air from the north working its way in. On Friday night, mostly cloudy with a very slight chance of seeing a passing shower grazing us from the north, and a good chance of seeing morning fog and a low around 40. And then for Saturday, partly to mostly cloudy and a slight chance of seeing that fog linger into the morning. However, around that 8 to 9 a.m. period should start to see those ceilings and or fog lift enough to not be of concern. And that is going to conclude the daily weather operations brief. Be back at 10 o'clock with the 7-day outlook, and hope everyone has a fantastic day.